Welcome back, Careblazer. Dr. Natalie here, and in today's video, we are tackling a sensitive but important topic, and that is, should you share your loved one's diagnosis of dementia? Or if you happen to be the person living with dementia right now, should you tell people that you have dementia? Now, this is absolutely a personal decision. There is no one size fits all approach, but I'm going to share with you some of the pros, some of the cons about sharing a diagnosis, and then hopefully you can make an informed choice that feels best for you and your loved one. Also, don't miss my special invitation to you at the end of the video. Before we dive in, Careblazer, it's important to remember that every single situation is unique. Factors such as the severity of the dementia, the relationships in your life, as well as individual preferences are all going to play a role into whether or not you decide sharing about the diagnosis is something you want to do. Now, let's break down the pros and cons. I'm going to share 7 pros. First, support. By letting other people know your loved one has dementia or you have dementia, you are opening the doors to being able to receive some much needed emotional and practical support. Number 2 is understanding. By sharing the diagnosis, it can help other people understand and make sense of some of the changes they may have noticed. Number 3, planning. It can help pave the way for future legal financial arrangements that need to be made when a diagnosis is made. So, for example, if you are the person who has been diagnosed with dementia, sharing that with your partner can be helpful to make sure that future care and legal arrangements are being set now. Number 4, and this is a big one, reducing stigma. Sharing the diagnosis can help educate others and help reduce the stigma about what people believe or think about when they hear the word dementia. There's so much misunderstanding, misconceptions, and myths about dementia. And part of the reason that is that whenever the general public learns about dementia or sees evidence and examples of people with dementia, it tends to be people who are in the moderate or severe stages where somebody is having so many problems and so much confusion and they can't really do much for themselves. But as we know through this channel, the early stages of dementia aren't like this. People are still very much working and living productive lives. It's not like somebody gets a diagnosis and immediately can't do things. So by sharing the diagnosis with others, it can reduce stigma. Number 5, access to resources. It can help open the door to get you connected with support groups and other community agencies that can be able to help. Number 6, it can help maintain relationships and strengthen bonds between family members and friends. In fact, I had a Care Collective member who shared with me, like, she didn't want to share her husband's dementia diagnosis with the other family members. And when she finally decided to share it, she wrote to me and said, what I thought was going to be the thing that hurt our relationships was actually the thing that strengthened our relationships. So by her sharing her experience and what her husband was going through, the family came together in a way she could have never imagined. And finally, number 7, pro to sharing the diagnosis is going to be safety. So we know that because dementia progresses, by sharing that somebody has the diagnosis or sharing that you have the diagnosis, this is going to help keep people around you more alert for when more help needs to be had with things like driving, living independently, managing finances, so that we can avoid potential harm and risks and being victim to scams. So those are 7 pros to sharing the diagnosis. I'd be curious what other pros you may have come up with. You can share them in the comments below. But I want to move into 7 cons of sharing a dementia diagnosis as well. Number 1, unfortunately, it's going to be stigma. There's lots of people who think lots of things and imagine lots of things when they hear the word dementia. And so some people are absolutely going to treat you or your loved one differently when they find out you have dementia. Number 2, loss of independence. There will be people who start to step in and take over tasks that the person with dementia is still very much capable of doing. Number 3, and this is a really big one, would be employment concerns. Many times people who are diagnosed in the early stages are still working. And when we share that we have a dementia diagnosis and you are still working, this could lead to potential discrimination, being passed up for projects, promotions, and even, getting pushed out of your job. Number four, it can be emotionally burdensome to be sharing this private, deep, hard diagnosis with other people, especially if you're doing it repeatedly, which is what most people do in the beginning as they share with all of the different relationships in their life. Number five, privacy. When we share a diagnosis, we are actually, not keeping personal health information private. And for some people, that's really important to do. And so that's a potential con to sharing the diagnosis with others. Number six, denial. Sometimes people just aren't ready or at a place to accept they have this diagnosis. And so if you're the caregiver sharing the diagnosis with others, it can be really hard for that person with dementia to even agree with you or be ready to have that information shared. As we've talked about in other videos, it might not be denial, it might be the condition called anosognosia, where the person has a lack of understanding that they have the diagnosis, even though they've been informed of it, and they just don't believe anything is wrong with them. And so in those situations, it can be tricky for you to try to share your loved one's diagnosis with other people when your loved one doesn't even agree they have it. And then finally, the seventh potential con to consider if you're sharing the diagnosis would be relationships. Your relationships with other people will very much change or become strained in some way, at least with some people, as other people become uncomfortable, uncertain, unsure about what to do, what to say, how to interact when they find out you have dementia. So it changes lots of relationships. I'm actually curious. I would bet many of you have witnessed at least one of those seven cons with your loved one. Now, if you do decide to share the dementia diagnosis, there are some tips to consider. Number one, start with close family members and friends, trusted family members and friends. Number two, be clear about what you need from others or what you're looking for as you share that diagnosis. Number three, you can absolutely share information that can help educate them about dementia and help avoid some of the misconceptions and myths that are floating out there. Number four, definitely take some time to think about when would be the right place and time to share such important information. You want to make sure you have time to share it in a quiet area. I'm sure the other person might have some questions or reactions that you can be able to respond to. And then finally, number five, you could consider having somebody with you, a trusted support person with you as you share that information. Now, there are times when maybe you want to consider not sharing that you have a diagnosis. Number one, clearly, if you're not ready, emotionally, mentally, maybe you're just not in a place where you want to share with others, and that's okay. If for some reason sharing it could jeopardize your own safety or well-being, and absolutely, you don't have to share it with people who would not be supportive. It's important to know that we get to decide how much we share, who we share it with. And just because we decide to share some information with some people, it doesn't mean we have to share it with all people. Our decision about who to tell and how much to share can change based on the circumstances. And it's okay if one day you decide one thing and another day you decide another thing. So for example, I was working with a Careblazer once and her husband had dementia, and they had talked in the beginning that he did not want other people to know, and she wanted to respect his wishes. So for a long time, they did not tell anybody about his dementia diagnosis. But as he declined and he was needing more and more help, that meant this Careblazer needed more and more help. And it was really hard to find ways to get that help without letting other people know about the situation and what was happening. Not to mention, many of the other people who were interacting with her husband were starting to notice that things were off and things were different. And so even though in the beginning she was doing her absolute best to respect her husband's privacy, she ultimately decided in time that it was time to let some trusted people in about her situation. And by doing so, she was able to open the doors and get more support for herself, which ultimately not only helps her, but it also helped her husband. As I've talked about before on this channel, whenever we make a caregiving decision, there are two people to consider: the person with dementia and yourself. This is also one of those situations where you can consider yourself as well. Careblazer, deciding whether or not to share a diagnosis is deeply personal. There's no right or wrong approach. People can make different decisions. It's all about what is best for your loved one and you together. And remember, if you do decide to share, you are in control over who you share it with and how much information you share. You don't have to share everything. If you have found this video to be helpful, I am glad, I am grateful. Feel free to hit the red subscribe button on your screen. It's totally free. Also, if you're looking for more support and guidance on your caregiving journey, then I invite you to check out our Care Collective program. As a member, you gain access to exclusive 24/7 private trainings not available anywhere else, weekly support groups where you get to connect with other people going through similar circumstances, as well as Q&A sessions with dementia experts like myself and others who can help give you feedback and guidance on those difficult caregiving situations. Our community is designed to improve the quality of life for you, the Careblazer, as well as the person with dementia. To join, click the link in the description below, or you can go to www.careblazers.com and click on the Family Caregiver link. You'll learn all about our Care Collective program there. I look forward to working with you and getting to know you and your loved one better and making your caregiving journey as smooth, peaceful, and enjoyable as possible. Thank you for watching, and remember, you're not alone. We can go through this together. I'll be back next week, as always, with a new video. Bye.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.